Welcome to GHT Time, where we discuss all things General Hospital. So put your feet up, get your teacups, get your snacks, and let's begin. General Hospital Daily Recap, Tuesday, April 21st, 2026. Let's see what our favorite bunch of characters are up to. Well, I guess I was wrong. I thought Ethan getting a job with Sonny was a shoo-in. I thought he was going to come in, ask for this job, and they were just going to give it to him. But that didn't happen, right? So Rick, Ethan introduced himself to Rick, and Rick was acting like he was pariah, right? He didn't even shake his hand. Ethan offered his hand. He was just looking at it. And the whole time Ethan was there, he was giving Ethan stink eye. So, Rick was telling Sonny, I don't think it's a good idea to hire him. And Sonny was like, well, let's hear him out. So Ethan ran down why he's good for this shady position because we know he's gonna be doing shady work for Sonny, right? So he was like, I could do this. I know about logistics. I'm, all over the world, all the stuff like that. He was like, I can handle this. He was like, I got a license to carry and all this other kind of stuff. Rick was still like, no. And then he was like, Luke's my father. So I thought the Luke's my father part would just be a shoe in, but Rick ain't going for it. He thinks that Ethan is working for Robert. Now, of all things, no, I don't think Ethan is working for Robert. He's always into some illegal stuff. I can't see Ethan working for Robert. But Rick just doesn't trust him. He's like, no. And then he was also like, since he's Luke's son, he's probably got heat on him, and Sonny doesn't need that kind of heat. I don't know what this is about. I see. I still, like I said, I want Rick to be on the up and up and be by Sonny's side and all that kind of stuff. But then on the other hand, I'm like, is Rick jealous? If Rick is jealous, I can understand that. Or is he doing something else? Because I hope that Rick ain't working for somebody else and doesn't want Ethan around because Ethan might sniff that out. But right now, it seems like Ethan is in because Sonny, at the end of everything, Sonny was like, you know what? No, we're going to hire him. We're going to give him something to do. So Ethan was happy he left. But Rick was like, how you going to trust him? He was like, I don't trust him. He's like, just like his father, he probably got some other game going on. He said, but I want him close so I can find out what it is. So we're going to see what Ethan is up to. I don't know. I don't know what he could be doing that's against Sonny, but we shall see. Guys, if you haven't already, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It really helps the channel. Well, Portia and Isaiah were in the little waiting room. I guess they had just came up from seeing Britt. And she had got a sonogram and all that kind of stuff. And Isaiah was feeling her stomach and was like, oh, they were kind of smiling and stuff like that. Curtis sees them through the window. Curtis is going to be such a problem. I'm telling you, I could see it already. I was almost thinking this might be the start of Curtis' villain arc, right? Because I was like, his face just looked so twisted up as Isaiah was like touching Portia's stomach. Later on, Curtis comes up and he's talking to Portia. And he was like, "Oh, you had an appointment today to see the doctor?" And she was like, "Yeah, she was like, here's some good news." And she was trying to show him the sonogram and that the baby was doing good and all that kind of stuff. And then he's like, "Well, why you didn't tell me that you was going to see the doctor?" She was like, I thought you was in there with Jordan and that you wanted to make sure that you could spend some time with Jordan after the accident and everything like that, which is understandable, right? I mean, any other time Portia would have told him she had an appointment, but they just got out of a car accident. Jordan's all banged up. She's probably just trying to be considerate. So, Isaiah excused himself and left, so Curtis is going in and he's just like, well, next time I want to be included. Even if I say no, I can't come. I want you to tell me. Portia, I told you she needs to tell him now how she wants this to go, but she's trying to just, keep the peace. So she's like, okay, Curtis, the way you want it, I'll let you know next time. So I don't know. I feel like this is getting ready to blow up and it ain't gonna be right. Portia ain't setting her groundwork now. She need to be setting it now, but she ain't doing it. This Jordan storyline is getting ready to turn out to be a mess. I'm telling you, I could see it already. So Jordan had a bunch of visitors, right? First it was Felicia. Felicia came in, checking in on Jordan, was giving her a bunch of information, telling her about her health insurance, saying that everything's good, that's gonna be covered. She also gave us some information about a trauma thing, so it's a trauma group. And Jordan's like, no, I'm an ex-police officer. I know about trauma. I'm good. So she's saying she don't need to go speak to nobody. I think she need to go speak to somebody, but she said no. So after that, Isaiah came in and he was just talking to Jordan, and Jordan was talking about her face, and she was like, "Look at me and how I'm gonna look." So Isaiah was trying to give her some reassurance that the plastic surgeons there at GH are really good, and she doesn't have much to worry about. But she was like, I gotta let my face heal first, and it's gonna be a lot. And so then when Isaiah started telling her, about she's probably gonna have good results, because of the plastic surgery team, she just jumped on Isaiah. She was like, "Look at me," and all this kind of stuff, and show my face. And I can understand her being upset. It's her face, and Jordan's a beautiful woman, and this is a lot. So as she's screaming at Isaiah, Curtis walks in. Curtis tells him to get out, like that. I was just like, oh my goodness, poor Isaiah. He was just trying to be helpful. So, but Jordan did say that. Jordan was like, you know what? I'm so sorry. Like, she kind of was upset that she had jumped on Isaiah. She was like, he was just trying to be helpful. Later, Curtis goes out and starts screaming at Isaiah and tell him to leave Jordan alone because what you doing in there talking to her anyway. Look, he wanted to yell at Isaiah anyway when he saw Isaiah handling Portia's stomach and stuff like that, rubbing on her stomach and all that kind of stuff and going to the appointment with Portia and stuff. He wanted to yell at him from there. But this was his reason to do it. So, later, Portia came and she saw Jordan because Jordan had rolled herself out to the area where you can sit, but she looking bad condition. She could barely move around. So Portia was like, "You want me to call somebody? Want me to get an orderly to get you some water?" She's trying to be real helpful. And then Jordan was like, "Oh, this is what it takes for me to be for you to be helpful to me. I'm in this condition now, and this is when you want to help." I was like, "See, it's gonna start. It's gonna start. I'm telling you, Jordan is gonna be upset because she's messed up from the way she is, and that's gonna cause havoc between Portia and everybody. Curtis is gonna cause a whole bunch of havoc because he don't like Portia and Isaiah because of the baby and all that situation. This can maybe be real messy, real quick, right?" So I'm telling you, I don't know. I don't know. Somebody may have a villain arc around here. Maybe it's gonna be Jordan. We gonna see, guys. But let me know what you think down in the comment section. But I feel like this is gonna get really bad, really quick. Looking at this scene between Rocco, Lulu, and Dante, Dante is gonna be so mad at Lulu when he finds out what happened with Rocco and that whole situation and them not telling him. But and you know what else I thought was kind of weird? Lulu is so, remember the whole time she was running after Gio and I gotta tell and make sure he knows and it's like now her son was something and she's just like, we gotta keep this quiet and don't tell nobody. But anyway, that's a side note. um, Dante, Rocco, and Lulu were having lunch, and Dante's telling Rocco, because he sees that Rocco feels really bad. And he's just like, what's going on here? He was like, no, he feels real bad. He lost his mother. He was like, Danny lost his mother, and now he lost his father. He's like, he can't catch a break. So Dante is still telling Rocco, stay in there. He's your brother. Just be there for him. um Lulu's looking, she's just like really worried because she wants to make sure Rocco doesn't say a wrong thing and Dante picks it up. But after a minute, she said, Rocco, don't you got to go to the hospital because you still got some community service hours to do. So Rocco went off to the hospital. So Lulu and Dante are talking, and Lulu comes up with the suggestion that she doesn't think that Rocco should spend that much time around Danny because Danny is probably going to get into something, and she don't want Rocco to be involved. Now, this is where it gets really kind of weird. Yes, Danny, we know Danny got some plans, but to separate these boys, especially right now when he needs support, when Danny needs support, I don't know. That just seemed kind of wrong to me. Let me know what you think down in the comment section. I don't think that they should separate these boys. I know why Lulu doesn't want them to be together because she don't want Rocco slipping up and telling Danny something, but I thought that was kind of wrong. Other than that, Lulu is just like, no, we just gotta, she's being overprotective, she knows, but she just wants to make sure Rocco's all right. Eventually Dante gonna find this out. I can't wait to see what happens when that happens. He gonna be so mad. Anyway, let's see what happens. I understand where Britt was coming from. Britt was trying to tell Lucas, he don't have to do this because Lucas is insisting that he gonna help Britt get her medication, so she don't have to live underneath Sidwell and Cullum's thumb. But Britt feels some kind of way because she was like, "Look, Marco just lost his life." She's like, "I can't have nobody else losing their life or going to jail and stuff." Because remember, and Jason's in jail or wherever he at. And she's just like, I can't have no more people get hurt because of me. So she was just like, I'd rather just let my Huntington's disease stuff come on. And she was like, and just live like that until she dies. But Lucas is telling her, don't give up like that. She was like, and then on top of that, Britt is like, she don't want to build that machine because she was like, this machine is probably going to hurt a lot of people. And she don't want to be responsible for that either. So Lucas is telling her, don't give up. He going to help. And on top of that, he was like, it's not just about Cullum, it's about Sidwell. He wants to make sure he takes Sidwell down because he feels like Sidwell is responsible for Marco's death, along with Cullum. So he wants both of them to go down with it. At first, Britt was just kind of arguing more with Lucas, but then at the end of everything, she said, okay, you know what? I'm going to go with your plan and we'll see. But she is tired and she doesn't really want to fight anymore, but Lucas convinced her that she needs to keep fighting on. So we'll see what happens with this. One of the nurses handed Rocco a pillow to give to a patient in the room. Didn't tell him it was Cullum. He opened the door as Cullum, right? So Rocco was kind of startled. And then Cullum's all smiling at him and stuff. He got the creepiest smile. Like they picked the right guy for this role. And he's talking to Rocco and he's telling Rocco, you know, the one thing you shouldn't do is get shot. I was like, oh boy. If he ever finds out that Rocco did this to him, oh goodness grief. I don't even want to see that because this guy just seems like he would just go out of his way to do something crazy to Rocco. Britt saw Rocco in there talking to Cullum and she rushed him out. She was like, no, you got to do something in the PED unit. Come on, let's go. So at first Cullum was like, he don't have to go. We can talk. And then Britt was like, no, he got to do now. You know, he got to go. So Rocco left. And Rocco was like, I don't have anything to do, right? She was like, no, but you need to stay away from that guy. That guy's dangerous. So then Rocco tells Britt, he gave her the rundown, how he knew she was at the pier because he followed her and that he was the one to pow Cullum. Britt's face is just like, ugh, one, it all makes sense. And now she just looks shocked, right? Because, of course, she's shocked because Rocco did this. But on top of that, I'm sure now she's 1,000% worried because poor Rocco and this nutty man in here. So it's going to be interesting to see what the follow-up conversation to this is. But at least she knows now she filled in the blanks. But she's going to have to figure out how to keep his secret because we don't need anybody finding out it was Rocco that did this. Molly was trying to get that sexy time from Cody, and here come Cody. He's like, no, he want to make sure that, you know, she's not in pain. He felt bad because he started thinking back. He was like, when we were together before, he was like, were you in pain? And just not telling anybody. And Molly assured him that she was not. She was like, no, when they were together, she wasn't in pain. But she did get into a routine of working through her pain. Like, so Cody is just skeptical. So he was like, he ain't even want to touch her. He was just like, no, we don't have to do this and stuff like that. Molly's like, look, let's get this on. But you know what, guys? I do have to say, I am so happy they got some more love in the afternoon. Nick, this is I think the third hookup. I might have forgot one. So I have to say, I'm glad about that because there was a point when GH wasn't showing no love in the afternoon. It was just like, what happened? It's just like no one's getting it on anymore. So I'm kind of glad that everybody is, you know, they showing some little love. Oh, yes, right. There was four because it was Gio, Carly, Sonny, and now Molly and Cody. So, okay. All right. So I'm glad the love in the afternoon is coming back. But after a conversation or so, Molly and Cody, you know, she got Cody to relax. And she was like, and Cody was like, look, we come to a compromise. He was like, if you have any pain, you have to let me know and then we'll stop. So, you know, they had their little sexy time and she was, you know, she was like, no, I'm good. And they looked like they had a great time. So I'm glad these two, they didn't let that whole, I can't really say it's a disagreement, but you know, him being worried about her go on for days on end. You know, they came to a compromise and they realized that it was going to be okay. So I'm glad Cody is really attentive to Molly. And I like that. I know Soapland, we don't know how long it's going to last. I'm sure something crazy going to happen, but it's nice to see these scenes when they happen. So guys, what was your favorite part about this episode? And what was your least favorite part? Let me know down in the comment section. I'd love to hear from you guys, and I will see you next time. And don't forget to hit that bell notification and the like and subscribe because it really helps the channel. And thank you for joining us again at GHT Time. Till next time, bye.